Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk about the creators, the characters, and the stories and the art. Okay. Now, most of us, especially if you're an adult, in America anyway, have probably at one time or another come across, been given, or found chick religious tracts. They're little small booklets done in cartoon form with some kind of religious story trying to for conversion. Well, not going to talk about so much about the tracts, but the same publisher, same creator, Jack Chick, also produced a series of standard-sized comic books along the same lines, and some of these had recurring characters. So that's what I want to talk about this time. This particular one is the Crusaders number 10, called Spellbound. And this book was originally published in 1978 and has been reprinted many times over the decades. And so here we're going to talk a little bit about the creator, Jack Chick. Consult the big book of knowledge. Okay, Chick Publications. Okay, it is a Christian publisher, best known for the myriad of Christian tracts they publish and which their customers distribute everywhere. These tracts differ from most other because they are in comic strip format, and they also produce a line of standard-sized comic books, and posters. This is Jack Chick is the publisher and creator of these. And Jack Chick, he's from 1924 to 2016, and he's an American cartoonist and publisher, born in the Boise Heights area of Los Angeles. And he was not I can't speak. He was not particularly religious in high school, but was interested in drama. After graduating, he studied on a scholarship at the Pasadena Playhouse School of Theater. In '43, he was drafted into the Army and served in the Pacific Theater for 3 years, working in cryptography. But I couldn't find anything about any art training, just a drama training. Doesn't want to stay lit. After the war, he returned to the theater and met his future wife. And she was from a very religious family, and introduced him to a religious program where he was converted to fundamentalist Christianity. I said I can't speak this morning. For 2 years in the 50s, he drew a comic strip, Times Have Changed, with a question mark, which is similar to the later BC strip or the Flintstones, in that I gather it was about cave people. After his religious conversion, he wanted to evangelize but was too shy to speak directly to people. He eventually started to produce his own cartoon tracts and self publish them. While not carried in bookstores, they became popular with churches and missionaries. And he established Chick Publications in 1970. Since his death, the company has continued to publish his books and have produced new ones by new writers and artists. I haven't seen any of those. So, let us delve into Jack Chick's concept of rock and roll and Satanism. Okay, here we have Chick Publications, The Crusaders, number 12, Spellbound. You can see, get a better view of this cover. And this is a nicely painted cover. And it's very, very metaphorical. Now, in case you can't tell right here what looks like the Stonehenge down here at the bottom was actually a myriad of 8-track tapes, which tells you how far back this goes. Because I would almost wager that the majority of those who are watching this video have never even seen an 8-track tape. But these were, at that time, still the predominant, aside from vinyl records, the predominant form of recorded music. And of course, it has this brightly lighted candle here at the top with moths being drawn to it, and at least one here has gotten too close and set itself on fire, and as it comes crashing down, and it was attracted to the flame, to its own doom and destruction. And that is the theme of this book, this comic book. Now I mentioned that Chick is best known for their small religious tracts, and I have a bunch of them, because even though I don't appreciate Jack Chick's theology, I do appreciate his artistic skill, which is why I have a lot of his books, and that's why I want to show. Here's another one, right here, another one of his comics called Chaos. And I'm not going to get into that. I just wanted to show you. I have a bunch of others, and I plan on doing at least one, if not more, episodes featuring them in the future. But here are just a small sample of his tracts. And these would be have missionaries and just religious people in general who almost exclusively extremely fundamentalist Christian you may have come across these some places like public bathrooms, libraries, any place like that where people gather, and some of these people leave the tracks, like Satan comes to Salem, and it's all about the witchcraft in Salem. Of course, it is a skewed version of history, as Jack Chick is known for. His is extremely fundamentalist, anti-Catholic, very anti-Catholic, and anti-occult, anything it considers the occult, not realizing, of course, that his own religion is occultic in nature. And the last generation, this is, okay, most of the stuff is like this. The tracks are done in a cartoonishly simplified, cartoonish stylization. Most of them. This one here, in particular, is done like in the style of his comic books. Has much more realistic, representational, realistic, almost photorealistic artwork. And that became popular enough that their other publishers have imitated it. For example, here, this is from, I don't know, a gospel handout, New Church or something like that, and from Oregon. This is old. And this is just a dialogue. Two characters in dialogues. It gets very dialogue heavy and just does different versions of the same talking heads. And the same artist in here telling a story. But it has got as well known enough that some people, particularly underground type artists, have done similar things, but which counter Jack Chick's work, like this son of the Book of Man. I don't have his Book of Man. Some nice cartoonish artwork, and I can't even show the interior of this one because it's spicy tales from the Bible, and that's exactly what it is. Very sexually graphic, but otherwise done somewhat similarly to the Jack Chick's tracts, in which they takes some of the less well known and let's say less friendly and less family friendly stories from the Bible involving sex and murder and incest and the like, and genocide, that are seldom spoken of in the church. So you can have a little look here at the inside. Of course, this is his own publication, so all the ads are for his stuff. And these are usually given out in churches, intended for kids and the like. And you can't see quite as well here yet, but because you can't see the figures and stuff, but you can really see really nice background detail. This is a long shot, so you can see the house, the surrounding terrain, and it's really nice. The characters get on the road on the car because they're leaving a friend's house. This guy is leaving a friend's house. Now, I wanted to tell you, but these are recurring characters put in different settings and adventures. They're called the Crusaders. They're two men who work for a church organization, and they are called the Crusaders. In no way related to Archie Comics Crusaders. That's why I often specify the Mighty Crusaders versus the Crusaders. And their names are Jim and Tim. I can't remember. One's a black man, one's a white man. I can't remember which is which. Here they are. He's Jim. Must be Jim. He's leaving this friend's house, driving along the road, and this other car comes up behind him, and he was just all. You can just tell by their expressions they're wicked, and he goes, "Get out of the way! I'll drive you right off a cliff." And the lady here, let's see you do it. Kill him, Bobby. Well, he starts harassing the little VW Beetle, right? And much to his own dismay, said the really nice the storytelling, visual storytelling, at least in this part of the story, is very good. I mean, the draftsmanship is excellent. Now, from what I understand, that Jack Chick was approached by mainstream comic publishers at one time in his career to draw mainstream comics, and he just turned them down flat because he dedicated his whole life to producing this stuff. Now, like I say, his theology is skewed, his view, and all of history is viewed through his skewed view. So, so most of the history is non-factual and misrepresents reality. But and it's viewed through the lens of his theology. So here the car kind of winds up crashing, going over the cliff, and Jim stops and to help. So the lady is all right, but the driver, the man is injured, and he's bleeding. You get him up, rig him up with a tourniquet, and get him up, and then get it to his car and rushes him to a hospital. Of course, he's being wheeled away by the doctors. He is praying silently to himself for help. Then afterwards, later, he approaches the man. His name is Bobby Dallas. It turns out he's a rock star, and then Bobby is not so wild as he was the night before driving the car, and he he really appreciates the fellow Jim helping him out and saving his life. But the lady who is with him, she sees, and of course he starts preaching to the guy, and the lady doesn't like it, and she gets the nurse and has him kicked out. So he approaches his friend Tim, and tells him about what happened, and they are invited to the party. This is a party that sometime later invited to a party that Bobby Dallas is giving, and here you can see all the people, the Hollywood people. You see this guy here is supposed to be like kind of satanic, and then this guy here is obviously supposed to be gay or something. And then we get here. This is where stuff falls down when his characters start preaching, because this is Bobby when he's all healed up, and Jim starts preaching to him, tells him, because he's wearing an ankh, and then he gives him a brief incorrect history of the ankh, because it says it's a sign of Lucifer and Satan, of course, Egyptian, predating his Abrahamic religion, and some other symbols from pre-Christian era religions, and of course, in his view, they're all satanic. So he's converted and starts praying with Jim and Tim, and his entourage are not thrilled with that. So here he is later, after Jim and Tim leave, and his people are talking to him, and Billy is going to change his ways, but in the process they wind up murdering him, because this should raise Bobby Dallas record sales. Too bad the klutz was accident prone. And of course, if Bobby turns, he could blow our cover. Let's ice him. So then they can destroy him. Now we go to a completely different scene here at some family's house, and a teenage girl and her friend are listening to rock and roll music, and of course the dad is saying, "Turn down that music," and said he's got to go. But they're just talking all about, the kids are just talking about how much they love the music, and you can see an 8-track tape and the evil satanic type posters of rock musicians on the walls. And then it turns out the guy is a pastor, and Jim and Tim are there to talk with him. They're going to have some kind of special meeting, and with this individual here, he's going to be talking about rock music. and he's been following someone from the rock music industry. There was following them. So then this mustached fellow who is the guest speaker, and he's given them a little bit of a background on the occult, here Druidism and some really skewed stuff. Of course, some of it did happen, like some of this mass this human sacrifice. They weren't all nice and sweet and it's only nature stuff. Everyone has darkness in their history, but then he ties it to the trick or treat of Halloween and how it's all evil, and the Druids would go around and they would go to the castles and the homes and carry off people for sacrifice, and that was their trick or treat. And if they didn't, they would put the sigil. And then we finally get to the and then we finally get to a representation of Stonehenge here, which of course has nothing to do with Druidism. It predates the Druids and Druidism by thousands of years. It goes back into the Paleolithic times. Anyway, he's talking about that stuff, and then of course he gets into the preachy Christian stuff, and how the Romans fought like the Picts in Britain, and whether they did this part here or not. And of course, the Picts are supposed to be blue, not green. And then how all this filters down into modern rock music. It's all satanic stuff. And here having an argument with the teenage girl about her music. And here's the preacher, the speaker at the church, and he's giving them more skewed background. More, of course, this is a story from history about from the Bible, about a possessed man, and then showing how some of the signs, like the pentagram or pentacle, really is how it is satanic, because it represents the Satan. Of course, it's to these people, everyone else's religion was satanic, and it's actually the horned god. A version of Hearn. Here they're calling him what? Kern, I think. I can't understand. Can't remember. Okay, and then now they got to get rid of that. Get rid of all these books. We've got to have all these records. So that's why we must burn those records tonight. The most powerful spells hitting Christian homes come through rock music. Now this plays into this girl. She gets all angry over my dead body. And back at the rock and roll studio production place and the studios here, and they find out about the stuff. We got to stop this. Because here they are at a recording session. It was the master tape, and then it goes into showing his view of how this stuff is produced. How they have, when the new records are to be pressed, and they have this ritual. They go in the robes, and they're witches, and they have all these satanic rituals and the like, to put spells and power into the music to seduce the people listening to the music. And then here the guy is talking about also at the church how they when missionaries have gone to third world countries, like places in Africa and the like, and someone plays some rock and roll music, and they comes in, but Pastor, why are you playing that music in your home? Well, that's my children's records. They brought back from America. Is there something wrong with the music? Yes, Pastor. Before we came to Jesus, we used that music to call up demons. See? So then the girl is converted, and she tears down all her posters and gets all the records, and here are all the bad people, the satanic people. Of course, always got to have a red-eyed demon dog. And here they are setting a bonfire and destroying all the records they can. And it's being covered by the news. And here you can see this kind of the evil-looking expression on this newscaster's face. I got what I needed. Isaac will love it. Let's get out of here. Now, Isaac is the head of this the satanic group, and then the people all get together and they pray as for the safety of that speaker as he drives home. Meanwhile, the people from this from that recording studio, they're chasing him down and they're shooting, trying to run him off the road, trying to kill him. And then but the Crusaders have followed, and they do a pit maneuver and knock him off the road. And the cop shows up, says, "What's going on here?" And they said, "These guys are crazy. They try to run us off the road." And said, "But he was shooting at this other fellow. They were shooting, trying to kill him." And said, "Oh, don't you jokers get smart with me. I should run all of you in for reckless driving. But because I have a big part, I'll let you go." And you can see the vile expression on this cop's face. Yeah, he's in on him, so he lets all the bad people go. And there you can see, on the news, I thought this could only happen in Nazi Germany. I was so ashamed. Talking about the record burning. But, the girls, and everyone's safe. But they still have to battle the satanic influences in the world. And yes, that, as I said in a video a few weeks ago, and whether it's records or books that you're burning, if you or someone that you support are doing this stuff, you are the bad guy. So they're doing record burnings. And I remember in the 70s, all this played into the early days of the satanic panic, all throughout the 80s and 90s. And it really started in a big way back in the 70s. I'm old enough, I remember hearing about this stuff. Yeah, and it even goes back farther, not just the satanic stuff, but the burning of the records. The Nazis burned books. There have been book burnings all throughout history. And remember, in the 50s, they had comic book burnings too, as a result of Dr. Wortham's seduction of the innocent, has really coming down on comic books. So his artwork. Now, to speak more about his artwork, because I got kind of carried away with it, telling the story. Really, really nice. And I think that was photo reference, because I think this individual is a real person, because he would often put real people in his, who were supposedly the sources of his, of the material that he put in there. Does that with a former Catholic priest, too, and has a whole series about this one Catholic priest and all the evil satanic stuff in the Catholic Church, in his view. But until he gets all preachy and stuff, his artwork is great, magnificent, some great draftsmanship skill, and in when he's actually telling the story, he has good visual storytelling for the most part, and he gets very wordy with his dialogue. And then, of course, it gets to the point where everything is referenced with asterisks down the bottom. And so where all this stuff is supposedly coming from. But I hope you at least enjoyed seeing that. Be forewarned, though, forearmed, that if you have never come across these and you do, the content is mostly BS. But they're still fun to read, and it's great to appreciate the skill and draftsmanship in the artwork. And regardless of the content, I would never advocate burning this material, even though I don't agree with it. And I appreciate it for the skill, and I personally enjoy reading the stuff, but I also realize where it's coming from. So even in this, I say, comics are art. So please share, like, and subscribe.